It's just like it's an underground swim hole for
It is.
people.
The Putman River.
Everyone can take their seats.
You've been an experienced swimmer.
Oh, wow.
Never noticed that. Good morning, and welcome to the July 10th meeting of the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority Board of Trustees. I'm very excited and honored to host you here in my home county. Paterson is our county seat, and it's also the third largest city in the state. I'll have more to say about the future of this great city in my remarks. I want to thank Passaic Mayor Hector Laura for joining us. He'll be giving a presentation shortly on some exciting projects in his city, including a concept development study along Main Avenue funded by the NJTPA. Thanks as well to Louis Imhoff, Clerk of the Board of the County Commissioners, my Administrative Assistant Jasmine Amador, and our Director of Planning and Economic Development, Andras Holtzman. Their hard work, along with the NJTPA staff, made this space possible, made our breakfast possible, as well as your loot bags, and so much more. Thanks also to Tony Perez, Executive Director of the Paterson Parking Authority, and Alfonso Delgado. They are out there looking out for your cars while we are in here doing this important work. And thanks also to Passaic County Sheriff Richard Burdnick, whose folks are making sure that we are all safe here today. I'll also preview the end of our meeting together by acknowledging and thanking Darren Bach, the Superintendent of the Great Falls National Historical Park, and Michael Powell, Director of Economic Development for the City of Paterson, who will lead our tours of the Great Falls and Hinchcliffe Stadium after today's meeting. As a reminder to all members, the microphones around the board table are very sensitive. This meeting is being recorded and webcast, and unlike in our room in Newark, red means on. So just take note of that. Now to start the meeting, I will ask Beverly Morris to read the Open Public Meetings Act. Beverly.
This is to advise that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been forwarded to the Newark Star Ledger, the Asbury Park Press, the Courier News, the Daily Record, the Home News Tribune, the Jersey Journal, and the New Jersey Herald. It was posted in the Essex County Hall of Records in Newark.
Thank you. Everyone please rise, and Bergen County Executive Jim Tedesco, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring America. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes of the May 8th board meeting? Seeing none? Oh, sorry. Beverly, please take roll of the board.
Okay. Bergen,
Yes.
Essex,
Here.
Hudson,
Here.
Hunterdon, Jersey City, Middlesex,
Here.
Monmouth, Morris,
Here.
Newark,
Here.
Ocean, Passaic,
Here.
Somerset,
Here.
Sussex, Union,
Here.
who is that from Union?
Amy Wagner.
Thank you. Warren,
Here.
Governor's Office,
Here.
NJDOT,
Here.
and your name is? NJ Transit,
Here.
Port Authority,
Here.
Citizens Representative.
Here.
Okay, we have We have 16 voting members present and a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Beverly. So now we'll turn to approval of the minutes. I didn't hear anyone speak up before, but I'll ask again. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes of the May 8th board meeting? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Morris will move to approve.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Seconder.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, I would like to take this opportunity now to present my chair's report. Once again, thank you all for coming to this morning's meeting. Before we turn to our agenda, I'd like to take a moment to invite you all on a walking tour of the Great Falls National Historical Park and Hinchcliffe Stadium after the meeting. The Great Falls played a significant role in Paterson's history as America's first planned industrial city. We'll also be seeing another historically important site, Hinchcliffe Stadium, a recently renovated but historic Negro League ballpark inside the national park. The Great Falls and Hinchcliffe Stadium also present the city and county with enormous economic opportunity by attracting tourists and the tourism dollars they bring. With the help of various NJTPA programs, the county has been working with Paterson to capitalize on this national treasure. Back in 2016, Passaic County, with funding from the NJTPA's Sub-Regional Studies program, completed the Great Falls Circulation Study. The goals included promoting biking and walking around the Great Falls. Since that time, the county and city have received federal funding from the NJTPA to advance many of the study's recommendations. We also restored the bridge that we'll be crossing on our tour, the Spruce Street or Wayne Avenue Bridge over the Passaic River, with support from New Jersey's Bridge Replacement Fund. We didn't just replace the prior bridge, but we enhanced it to support the neighborhood and the national park, widening the sidewalk to keep tourists, pedestrians, and school children safe, and restoring a historic feel with open cement balustrades and light fixtures that evoke the city's history, but use minimal electricity thanks to LED technology. The most recent example of this body's role in the restoration of the Falls District came at our last board meeting, when our approval of transportation alternatives grants included $1.3 million awarded to Paterson for bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements to Spruce Street from Market Street to Grand Street. The NJTPA previously awarded 2 other transportation alternative grants to Paterson, including $1.2 million to upgrade sidewalks, add bicycle lanes, and perform other work along Spruce Street from McBride Avenue to Market Street. That project is in the engineering phase. The other grant provided $1 million for the bicycle and pedestrian connection from Great Falls to Hinchcliffe Stadium. The stadium, a national landmark, had been abandoned. Its comeback as a center of civic pride is both a product and a powerful symbol of Paterson's larger rebirth. The Great Falls and Hinchcliffe Stadium are at the center of ripples of renewal that are radiating out from this place, supporting not just the park, but also residential development and private business, like the former industrial building that we're in today, which now serves as a community center and event space. In addition to the transportation alternatives grants, I also wanted to mention a project Passaic County is leading thanks to a $3.6 million grant from the NJTPA's local safety program. We're making improvements to a 1.35-mile stretch of Market Street leading up to the Great Falls, through the heart of our city's governing district and a neighborhood typical of immigrant success stories that have been written in this place, a neighborhood once known as Italy and now known as Peru Square. This project is in its engineering phase and will include curb extensions to shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians, high visibility crosswalks, and signal upgrades. All these projects together will help make it safer and easier for people to walk and bike to the Great Falls and around the city. Supporting safety and promoting walking and biking are key elements of the NJTPA's long-range transportation plan. You'll hear more about efforts to update the long-range plan from David shortly. These improvements also help boost the economy. People are more likely to get out and visit our historic sites and businesses when the transportation system is safe and accessible. And while I'm on the topic of the economy, I wanted to highlight the 2023 report of the economic value of the New York and New Jersey port industry. The NJTPA completed this assessment in partnership with the Shipping Association of New York and New Jersey and the Council on Port Performance. The report, released last month, found that the port industry accounted for nearly $15.7 billion in tax revenues and supported more than 563,000 jobs in New Jersey in 2022. This highlights something this board has long recognized, that the goods movement industry is critical to our region's economy. We play an important role in supporting and maintaining and improving the infrastructure that helps keep freight moving through our region and beyond. Turning to today's agenda, the board will consider 3 amendments to the current Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. For anyone who's not familiar with it, the TIP is a fiscally constrained list of projects and programs for our region. It is updated every 2 years, and we amend it as needed to make changes to funding or the timing of phases of work. We'll be considering the new TIP for fiscal years 2024 through 2027 at our next meeting in September. The new TIP contains 301 projects and programs totaling $14.3 billion, reflecting a 20% increase in funding from our TIP just 2 years ago. We'll also be asked to vote on the Air Quality Conformity Determination, which is an analysis of the proposed TIP projects and programs to ensure that they will have a positive impact and help the state reach its air quality goals. The draft TIP and conformity report are being finalized, and both will be published on the NJTPA website soon. We'll then be holding a federally mandated public comment period on these documents, as well as the State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, which includes our TIP as well as those of the state's other 2 metropolitan planning organizations. We moved the joint committee meeting to August 28th, so the Project Prioritization Committee can consider the TIP and public comments ahead of the September board meeting. You'll hear a bit more about the timeline from David in his report. Finally, I wanted to thank all of our staff in Passaic County, including our County Administrator, Matthew Jordan, and our Deputy County Administrator, Mark Seaman, who are both here with us today, as well as our partners in Bergen County, including County Executive Jim Tedesco, and our partners at the NJTPA and NJDOT for their work to complete the new Fairlawn Avenue Bridge. The bridge provides a critical connection between Patterson and Fairlawn, allowing for the efficient movement of people and goods. NJTPA's Local Capital Project Delivery Program provided federal funding for every phase of the work, from initial planning through construction. Congressman Bill Pascrell, my fellow county commissioners, and many others celebrated the long-awaited opening of the new bridge at a ribbon cutting last month. I want to thank you all for joining us here on the road today in Patterson, and with that, I conclude my remarks. Any remarks from NJDOT this morning? Hearing none. Jeremy, any remarks from New Jersey Transit? None. Okay. Thank you very much. David, would you please give the Executive Director's report?
All right, good morning. Everybody can hear me? All right, thanks. So first, on behalf of the NJTPA staff, I'd like to say we're also excited to be here in this historic building in this great city. Thanks very much to Commissioner Bartlett, the Passaic County staff, and all the staff at the NJTPA who arranged today's meeting and made it possible, and thanks to the Great Falls Center for hosting us. As you know, July 1st marked the start of a new state fiscal year. With the end of fiscal year 23, we closed out a number of projects, and many others are beginning under our new work program. One major effort in 23 that was led by NJTPA Central staff was creation of an active transportation plan to improve non-motorized travel options. That final plan will be posted online at our website shortly, and we are planning presentations about it for the upcoming committee meetings. And data gathered and analyzed through that effort will be made available to support local bicycle pedestrian planning as well. Other planning efforts that recently wrapped up include validation of our transportation model and an updated version of PRIME, our database of planning studies. We also completed 2 freight concept development studies and an update of our freight rail grade crossing assessment, and you'll hear more about those during the Freight Initiatives Committee report. Regarding sub-regional studies, 4 have just concluded: a transportation plan for Essex County, freight studies in Hudson and Middlesex counties, and an electric vehicle study in Union County. We've also completed 7 municipal complete streets technical assistance projects. This included such activities as complete streets plan development, walkable community workshops, demonstration projects, and more. I believe that one of those was complete streets conceptual renderings in the city of Passaic. Board members can see more information on these and on other activities in the central staff highlights that you received via email on Friday. Moving into FY24, just underway, several key efforts will continue, including 4 concept development studies for road and bridge needs in Morris, Ocean, Somerset, and Monmouth counties. Of course, our efforts to improve safety are also continuing, including our long-running Street Smart pedestrian safety campaign You'll see street smart posters and other information in communities down the shore and around other parts of the region this summer. Also related to safety, today is actually the deadline to apply for the latest round of federal Safe Streets and Roads for All grants. I know that a number of communities in our region have applied. We've provided letters of support to those that notified us, and you know, we wish them well in their applications and look forward to working with them. On that note, we continue to offer letters of support, data, guidance, and assistance for these and other applications to federal grant programs. I should note that next month there are application deadlines for IIJA grant programs involving rural transportation, resiliency planning, wildlife crossings, and more. You can get more details on that on the IIJA section of our website. On that note, speaking of particularly the local safety action plans, direct support for local access to safety funding through IIJA is the focus of one of our major initiatives in this fiscal year. I'm pleased to report that with the exception of those that have already received federal grants for local safety action plans, all NJTPA subregions will be participating in our program to develop these plans, which are a prerequisite for federal safety implementation grants. As part of this effort, I'm happy to announce that in cooperation with FHWA's New Jersey division and the FHWA Resource Center in Washington, we'll be hosting Safety Action Plan webinars on September 14th and 28th and on October 19th. These webinars are open to the public, and we'll also be hosting a November 30th workshop for NJTPA staff and our subregional planners and engineers. Stay tuned for more details to come on that. The start of the fiscal year also brings several new other planning initiatives. We'll be working with other MPOs, particularly NIMTIC in New York City, on developing a new household travel survey. The last such travel survey was conducted in 2011, so this is an overdue and important activity. Another new initiative this year will be updating freight industry level forecasts to hopefully capture the significant changes to supply chains and international cargo in recent years. As the chairman mentioned, we will be also working on the next update of our long-range transportation plan. That plan needs to be approved by our board by the fall of 2025. It presents the NJTPA's vision for mobility in the region and will guide the region's planning work and investments going forward. For the plan to truly meet our region's needs, we'll need to get as much input as possible from the public and our stakeholders. We will be hiring a consultant team for this effort, and we'll be planning outreach activities, which we expect to start next summer. We'll also be working closely with our Up Next North Jersey Young Adult Advisory Group and our public outreach liaisons to enhance community engagement for the plan. I'd like to note that our outreach liaisons are also available to assist with subregional studies and other NJTPA-funded initiatives. You can learn more about this program on our website, and please contact NJTPA's outreach staff if you're interested in possibly using the liaison program to supplement public engagement on any of these efforts. So, you know, work is also underway to sort of lay the groundwork and the foundation for that next plan update. For example, we hosted 2 events last month that provided some valuable insights for the plan: an autonomous vehicles symposium, as well as our annual Tech Tools Expo. You'll hear more about the AV Summit in Commissioner Kenny's report. The Tech Tools Expo featured a suite of dashboards the Port Authority uses to manage and predict real-time traffic needs at the airports, and it also featured New Jersey Transit's land use and transit-friendly data application. Thanks to all who participated in these events, and summaries and other materials about those events are available on our website. I should note too, we'll also continue our work with the Together North Jersey group this year, including hosting forums and supporting the Vibrant Places technical assistance programs. Also recently, Central staff played an active role in the 2023 Eastern Transportation Coalition's Freight Academy during the week of June 11th. I was happy to welcome the group to New Brunswick to help kick off the program, and the Academy provides valuable training on addressing freight challenges and issues to representatives of agencies and states and counties from up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Staff also participated in meetings of the Multi-MPO MAP Forum, the Metropolitan Area Planning Forum, last month, and in May we hosted a very well-attended meeting of the Morris Canal Working Group. Finally, some reminders about some upcoming activities. On Thursday, Central staff is hosting a workshop for our subregions on the pass-through programs, which are a key means for funding and supporting transportation planning around the region. I hope all subregions can participate. Look forward to seeing you there. Also, as the chair said, we have moved the August Joint Committee meeting from August 21st to 28th so that there's time to receive and review any public comments we get on the TIPA air quality conformity. That public comment period will begin July 24th and conclude on August 22nd. And we will be hosting a virtual public meeting on Thursday, August 3rd from 4 to 7 p.m. Details on that are on our website. And with that, I'll conclude my report. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, David. We've got a lot going on this year and in the years ahead, which is terrific. Now we'll hear from Mayor Hector Laura, who will present on how transportation and redevelopment are coming together to better prepare Passaic for the future. Hector C. Laura was elected mayor in 2017. Prior to that, he and I were running mates. Hector was twice elected to what was then the Passaic County Board of Chosen Freeholders. In 2015, he became the first American Latino and first American of Dominican heritage to serve as director of the Board of Chosen Freeholders. He also previously served on the Passaic City Council. Prior to entering political office, he worked at St. Mary's Hospital in Passaic for more than 14 years, where he served as director of multiple departments, served as chief of staff to Assemblyman Gary Scher, and was lead pastor at the Risen Refuge Ministry in Jersey City. Please welcome Mayor Hector Laura.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is exciting to be here at the Great Falls Center. I'm wowed and just in awe of all of the changes and additions in this area. We were enjoying the view, and we are very excited to be here. I say we because I'm accompanied by our business administrator of the city of Passaic, Rick Fernandez, our superstar business administrator, planner, and basically he does it all. He was instrumental in helping me put this presentation together. There's so much that we want to cover, so little time, and I highlighted him because he is probably the most important person in regards to this presentation, because Commissioner Bartlett had shared with me I have 15 minutes, and at the 12-minute mark, Rick is going to make a motion to let me know to wrap it up if I don't wrap up before that. And if I go beyond that, he has a hook that he's holding in the back, and much like the Apollo, he's going to come and chase me out with it. But I do want to share some information about how the impact of many of these collaborations and these updates that were shared by the chair, Mr. John Bartlett, have impacted communities like ours in the city of Passaic. Perhaps attempt to draw you a picture or give you an image of the faces of those that are directly and positively impacted. You know, as David, the executive director, had shared about the Complete Streets rendering and the work to do it, this becomes instrumental and important in terms of buy-in for our stakeholders, our community, in terms of pitching and explaining to them any changes or introductions of initiatives that we want to bring to the city. Oftentimes, these renderings become so much more powerful. We're familiar with, a picture sometimes is more powerful than 1,000 words. And hopefully in the middle of this presentation, he should have just brought some pictures. Don't get scared, it's not going to be that long. Before I go into the presentation, I want to give my special thanks in the beginning, just to make sure I don't forget anyone, and if someone comes to mind, I'll acknowledge them after. I want to give special thanks to the NJTPA, the Passaic County government and all affiliated, the New Jersey DOT, Sustainable New Jersey, Trust for Public Land, NJDEP, New Jersey Transit, Neighborhood Preservation Program, Together North Jersey, and especially Commissioner John Bartlett, who has collaborated with us for various projects located throughout the city of Passaic and the entire county of Passaic. Commissioner Bartlett, in his other role, had shared that we were running mates, and I can tell you firsthand that he has visited every single municipality, every inch of all 16 municipalities in Passaic County. He genuinely cares about the development of our community, of every area and every single segment of the population. I say this honestly because, again, I want to highlight how the impact of so many of these initiatives and collaborative efforts directly and positively impact our community. Because when you hear of a safety measure, the widening of a sidewalk, perhaps a painted crosswalk, why the width of a road is important. And this is great when it comes to infrastructure and grants and the reports, and they're important. But for me, as mayor of an urban community, of an underserved community that sometimes are the victims of unsafe conditions, it is the difference between a mother with her baby carriage on her way to school having to walk on the street with traffic flying by, or perhaps navigating her journey in a widened sidewalk, or maybe those who are incentivized and decide they want to go shopping in the city of Passaic saying, I think that I want to go check out this store, and they see that there's a reverse angled parking and that's going to be convenient for them, or a strategically placed bus stop that leads you to the train station and you go, you know what? I'm going to stop by, check out some stores, and then head to the train station on my way to Secaucus or Hoboken or Connect to go to New York. Or perhaps a technology advancement where you're waiting for the bus to come, and now because of a great investment in a brand new transit development or a new bus station, you go, I can look at my phone app and know that the bus will stop at exactly 11, and then while you're reading it, you go, it looks like that's going to be delayed 5 minutes. Maybe I'll stop by and get coffee at the local shop. And as you're getting coffee, you look at a cultural store and say, you know what? I'll possibly pick up my significant other, one of these vibrant, bright shirts that I see at the window, and encourage more business and investment in our city. So that's a brief picture of why it becomes so important in our city. Transportation, obviously, you can imagine how important it is for employment, for business owners, for our residents constantly looking for jobs. And you consider communities like ours, where very few of the residents have ownership of more than one vehicle. When you have a large family, you don't have the luxury of saying, you take one car, the kids take the other car, my spouse will take the other car, and our visiting cousin will take the other car. And what happens often is they rely on public transportation, which reminds me a bit of the boss that went to his employee and said, I need you to work this weekend. And the employee's retort was, no problem, just keep in mind that public transportation is delayed on the weekends, which led the boss to say, so what time do you think you'll get here? His response was around Monday. I thought that was kind of cute. I wanted to share that. All right, back to collaborations. I wanted to thank these agencies and the collaborations, because together we are able to have improvements and development, and the synergy with all of this is what's truly positioning Passaic for a greater future. These collaborations have allowed our city to create visualizations, which again, I'll reiterate, help in getting the buy-in from our stakeholders and our community members when we can present these plans, especially for improvements to our streetscape designs. We can incorporate and encourage various modes of transportation, expand public open space, and improve safety, mobility, and visibility in order to continue to make Passaic a great place to live, work, and visit. Which leads us to the question, why is transportation-oriented development essential in the success of redevelopment in general, and specific to the city of Passaic? Over the years, my administration has focused its approach on creating vibrant, mixed-use communities, centered around transportation hubs such as our Passaic train station, which routes to Secaucus and Hoboken for ease of transfer to New York City, as well as routes extending to West New Jersey and upstate New York. The numerous bus stops in every area of the city also transport our residents to nearby towns, cities, and New York City, like Paterson, New Jersey, because I think everybody's going to want to come here and visit the Great Falls Center and see what's going on and go to Hinchcliffe Stadium. Kudos to all those involved, and a shout out to the great mayor of the city of Paterson, New Jersey, Mayor Andre Sayer, and the work of his council and administration, and obviously all of our federal officials and county officials who have worked so well to bring this amazing transformation to this area. As I was sharing, our many bus stops help us in our city. We're a city of 3.2 square miles with over 70,000 residents. On the books, we are identified as the 5th most densely populated city for populations of 50,000 or more in the United States of America. The 5th most densely populated city with 3.2 square miles, 58 linear miles of road. It becomes extremely important to have access to public transportation, and how it impacts development and our community as a whole is extremely important. I would propose to you paramount to positioning us for a greater future and making sure that we do well today. We have over 100 bus stops located throughout the city, transporting our residents to nearby towns, cities, and again, outside of the state to New York. By integrating transportation facilities within residential, commercial, and recreational spaces, it promotes walkability, accessibility, it reduces the reliance on private vehicles, and encourages public transit use, which I've already shared why it's so very important. Under my administration, we've been able to focus on improving transportation infrastructure, such as building a new New Jersey Transit terminal, as well as adding an additional 230 parking spaces throughout the city, and a new parking deck that will add an additional 310 parking spaces in our central business district of Main Avenue, making areas that have become more accessible and convenient for commuters, residents, and tourists. And overall, we've added over 1,000 parking spaces through parking initiatives. Since I became mayor, we've included ordinances that change, such as allowing overnight parking at street corners, front yard parking, and implementing electric charging stations. I cannot stress or highlight enough the importance of these initiatives, which I cannot take full credit for because this is not my election year. If it was, I would. But because it's not, I have to share the credit, and I should, with my colleagues on the city council. I want to acknowledge Council President Gary Sher, who's also our assemblyman of the 36th Legislative District, Councilman Chaim Monk, Daniel Schwartz, Dr. Terrence Love, Tanya Mello, Maritza Colon Montañez, and Councilman Joe Garcia. Because as we go around the city and identify issues together, we often sit down with our remarkable professionals like our business administrators, our engineers, our planners, and we say, how can we improve the quality of life of our residents? How can we make things easier? And when you consider urban communities, cities like ours, we live in a world and a time where parking is not just valuable, it is unique. It is finding like treasure when you find an ideal parking space. You know, I often find myself having to answer the questions to residents. You have all these huge buildings, why don't you have parking spaces? And I tell them, whether they're talking about a faith-based institution that has one of those historic, beautifully designed, when you look at the architecture, aesthetically pleasing buildings, and you go, there's no parking, I remind them they were built over 100 years ago. And over 100 years ago, people didn't need cars. In fact, they had horse and buggy, and on the weekends, many people walked. Today, for $99 down and no credit, you can walk off the lot with a brand new car for you, for your son, for their significant other, and for your visiting cousin who's staying over. So sometimes in a specific apartment, you'll find 5 vehicles, which means 5 cars on the street. So being able to create parking spaces, especially in communities like ours, becomes so important. And being able to apply for grants become even more important. How do we create additional parking spaces? Sometimes driving around, we'll identify a certain piece of land or property, something like 12,000 square feet, ranging from 12,000 to 25,000 square feet, that isn't of use. It looks nice, but we'll apply for a grant to convert that into parking spaces. We'll look to apply through the state or get some funding through Green Acres, and we'll create additional public parking. And again, that has a positive impact in our community. Now, as my business administrator gave me a look, I imagine I might need to speed through some of this, so allow me to get through through some of it so I can acknowledge the important collaborations and partnerships. Transportation projects often require acquiring land, which can create opportunities for redevelopment in adjacent areas. For example, the construction of a new rail line or transit station may lead to the development of mixed-use projects, including residential, commercial, and recreational spaces. This efficient use of land can help alleviate urban sprawl or uncontrolled expansion of urban areas and promote sustainable development. In 2020, the City of Passaic was able to acquire 4.4 acres of land, which was an abandoned rail line dividing the city's Pulaski Park and Dundee Island. Now, how did that come about? Allow me to try to say that very quickly, but I have to highlight the work of business administrator from the county, Matt Jordan, the previous business administrator, Anthony DeNova, and my partner, not just in tasting every empanada shop in all of Passaic County, but in, seriously, this guy loves empanadas, but in trying to come up with practical and important development and also add to environmental justice, because this project is one of the best projects I would propose to you, not just in the city of Passaic or the county of Passaic, but in the state of New Jersey. So Dundee Island, I was born and raised in Passaic, used to have this railroad, and it was, to say blighted would be an understatement. It was an area where you found drug use, prostitution, crime, and violence. The problem is the proximity to the Boys and Girls Club, one of our biggest elementary schools, school number 8, and one of our parks. I'll admit to you, I hated the area. It was abandoned and no one was taking care of it. When I became mayor, I made a commitment that those railroads needed to be removed because that was ideal space to unite our riverfront park, which hadn't had any investment in over 30 years, and our Pulaski Park right by our Boys and Girls Club. We decided to aggressively and proactively seek out opportunities to help developers to go after that land and see what we can do. At the time, people said it was impossible, but I believe there is nothing impossible when you have the right collaborations and partnerships and shared vision, not uniform in our approach, but united in a desire to see communities progress and prosper. Long story short, we were able to remove that railroad. We were able to secure over $10 million with the county. We were able to receive an additional $6 million with federal funding and additional state funding in order to unite those two parks, create the first ever brand new county park in over 30 years, a riverfront open space area, which allows us to unite two parks. We created amenities that children in the area had not seen growing up, where they were used to just seeing brick and mortar. Now they see trees and walk by a river and develop a deep appreciation for nature, are inspired because what we expose our youth to will directly impact what they believe is possible and what they're capable of doing. We were so excited about this project that we continue to ask for more funding, but we presented why this was crucial and what was going on around, because any one of the projects that I can mention alone perhaps would be difficult to justify. But when you consider a brand new bus stop on Market Street, just walking distance from there, the brand new bus station that will happen on Main Avenue, which will connect the train station from Van Houten Avenue, our west side going to our east side, that will go past our Wall Street downtown, a more densely populated area, to connect to the Garfield Line train. It's going to create traffic, job opportunities, employment, obviously. It's going to attract developers and investment, and we've seen that happen over the last 5 years with over $200 million now being invested in our east side, with waterfront properties being developed to attract more than 600 kids every single year that are graduating from our high school, to repurpose industrial properties in order to create mixed uses like residential and commercial, or warehouse opportunities and large logistic opportunities in order to attract different businesses. You know, sometimes the proposals that we receive, they're not the ideal. I'll point to a particular property that we knew as Panasonic that had the fake leather, just for lack of a better description, where we had strongly went after a Quest diagnostic. Had conversations with Amazon, but for over 30 years couldn't get any interest. And in 2018, as mayor, I had pushed to have it redesignated so that warehouse can come in. Now, some of the pushback from my colleagues were, well, why warehousing? What are you going to get, 50 jobs? Maybe 15 of them in Passaic? Who cares about that? And I had retorted or argued back, well, I'm sure it means the world to those 15 people, but here was the reason. You know how difficult it is to deal with brownfields and land, and my goal was the remediation of potential contaminated land. And when you're dealing with industrial properties, sometimes the cleanup is a little easier. And in order to move projects along, you consider how it's going to be impacted by everything around. Transportation, investment in open space, working with these remarkable agencies in order to ensure that the city as a whole is in the forefront of our vision as leaders. So with that stated, this is one of the properties that we move forward on. And one example, the land that we have is located in the most densely populated area, that Dundee Island in the city, where many residents are low-income earners and a majority of families do not own a car. The park is adjacent to Vreeland Village, a 236-unit public housing project. Renovated this park behind and adding parking spaces, or rather the renovation of the park and the added parking spaces, was of great benefit to underserved and underprivileged communities. Again, this land was used for over a century as a rail line serving the industrial east side neighborhood of the city. The acquisition by the city coincided with a $12 million project to transform Dundee Island Park. The Pulaski Park extension will allow the two parks, which are now separated, to be joined and create a seamless experience for the visitors and residents to enjoy the Passaic Riverfront waterfront property. And the former railroad land contaminated soil was excavated and removed. We were able to do that working with the county and the state and so many others. The cost of removing that was over $1 million. Now, allow me to conclude with some of the highlights of working with transportation improvements in some of the agencies. Transportation improvements such as a traffic management system, adding speed bumps, stop signs, crosswalks, flashing signs, and public transit options can help alleviate traffic congestion in and around redeveloped areas. Reduce congestions. Not only will it improve the flow of people and goods, but also enhance the overall livability of the area, making it more attractive for redevelopment. One of our biggest projects was in collaboration with the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. This guy's here. Passaic County, and a local concept plan for redesign of Main Avenue, which has been part of a decade-long process, reimagining our Main Avenue in light of changing technologies, preferences, and priorities. Main Avenue is the primary commercial corridor of the city of Passaic, and the corridor contains center median parking areas, which were created following the abandonment of the historic railroad down Main Ave in the 1960s. Given the high commercial activity in the area and 10 schools located within half a mile of the project limits, the corridor experiences a high number of vehicle crashes, creating a major safety concern for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. But now, with fewer accidents and injuries, resulting in the reduced strain on our healthcare system, lower healthcare costs, and improved public health outcomes, recognizing these issues in the new framework for the Main Avenue focuses on effective traffic management, traffic calming measures, and pedestrian and bike-friendly infrastructure. I won't go through all of the specific details of the additions, but I will share this. Some of the changes were creating angled parking to slow down traffic, speed bumps, those what often are referred to because of the grant language and terminology, lighted beacons, but it's really just those flashing solar lights on stop signs. I can share with you that Passaic is one of the few municipalities that has gone, or it's going on 2 years without a single fatality as a result of a vehicle accident. That is huge for a city like ours, considering the numbers we were experiencing, because sometimes people say, what does it matter if you paint a crosswalk? What does it matter if you add an additional bus stop and change the routes and reduce congestion, or if you change the width of a road, or if you partner together for one of these safety measures? It matters to the lives of those families and those children and individuals that by necessity have to be out there. Not because they want to. Some of us have the luxury of strolling through the streets and the sidewalks and riding on our bikes because of recreation and fitness, and others, unless they're on a bike, they can't get to work because they can't drive. And without those bike lanes, they're susceptible and vulnerable to accidents. I wanted to share some of these with you so that you know that the work you do is noble. Noble not just because it can get recognized and printed and we give each other plaques and awards, but because real lives are impacted. Because the difference that you make, whether in your meetings, those long sessions, whether you're approving minutes or going back and forth with ideas or deciding who deserves what grants, it changes lives. It means improvement and progress. It means that elected officials can list off all of the accomplishments and investments. But it also means that there's greater hope in communities like ours. Hope that people actually care, that they consider not today, but the future for our children and our families, that they consider a vision that will not only better position Passaic for what's to come, but addresses the concerns of today. Allow me just, and I promise you it's only one more page, improved transportation connections can act as a catalyst for attracting investment, redeveloped areas, and businesses are more likely to establish or expand their operations in locations with efficient transportation networks, as it allows for easy movements of goods, services, and employees. This influx of investment can drive economic growth, job creation, increased tax revenue, and increased property values in the redeveloped areas. Transportation safety measures contribute to a sense of security and confidence among residents, encouraging them to utilize various modes of transportation. When people feel safe on the roads, sidewalks, and public transportation, they are more likely to choose active modes of transportation like walking and cycling. I will briefly note some of the collaborations that we have had that have added to over $75 million in investment in our area. Our Main Avenue local concept redevelopment plan, Main Avenue corridor transportation of wider sidewalks, bike lanes, reverse angled parking, median parking being removed, creating open space, harmonizing with the relocation and construction of our New Jersey Transit bus terminal, public parking decks, Main Avenue redevelopment plan. Our Main Avenue New Jersey Transit bus terminal, relocating major bus stops, which are currently in a small slip of lane at the north end of the corridor, and creating a modern bus terminal structure at the south end, which connects bus stops and bus routes to our train stations. I mentioned that earlier. Our complete streets technical assistance for the State Street and Hamilton Ave. This area chosen was the State and Hamilton Street, in which 80.4% of the population own no more than one vehicle in that census tract. Please take note of that. Take note of that if you have more than one vehicle in your home. The conveniences, the safety measures that we often take for granted in communities like ours, we can't. I don't think we pay mind to that because as we walk around in our communities, some come from more affluent, perhaps others describe it as more privileged. Even sidewalks is just something you expect. Making sure that your crosswalks are painted so that cars will stop when your children are going to school, that's just a norm. But for us, these collaborations, when red tape is cut, bureaucracy is out of the way, it's more than improvement. I'd much rather see red tape cut than yellow caution tape on the street because a child was hit. And I cannot overstate the progress and the benefit to that. Are there challenges to development? Are there challenges to progress? Yes, there are. When all things go well, you attract more people. When you bring in warehouses, you bring tractor trailers. When you bring in business, you're going to have more traffic to your city. I'm not saying things are perfect. I'm not creating this utopic example that everyone can say, look at Passaic, it's doing great. Let's send the money there. I would like that. And send all of it there. But no, what I'm telling you is that you have helped us to be better positioned for the future and to meet these new challenges. You know, when warehouses came to a city and you attracted them there, you were concerned because of contamination. And you wonder if you're bringing them back, will you just create greater issues 30 years from now? And I would propose to you that with greater restrictions and greater accountability, that's not as much of a concern today. It's more of a concern to provide opportunities of employment, safety, development, that the vision of the city is connected with the vision of the county and of the state and of important agencies, and that these remarkable individuals who volunteer their hours to go through these applications, to consider our cities, know that the money that you give, it should be spread all over because there is need wide and broad. but I would hope that my presentation helped you consider the faces of children and families and immigrants who come to this country seeking a better life and deserve no less than others, and whether their response is thank you, gracias, shukran, or any other language they want to express their gratitude. As mayor, on their behalf, I publicly say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you for this time and the opportunity to present.
All right, thank you very much. I was struck in your remarks that every entity on this board had touched that in some way. The governor's office in the state of New Jersey, DOT, Transit, PATH, the county, the city, all these funding sources. And as you listed off those accomplishments, I'm like, that was that grant, and that was that grant, and that was that grant. And it really is the practical impact of what we do around this table. I want to open the floor to questions from members of the board for Mayor Laura. All right, well, Hector, thank you very much. This was terrific.
Thank you.
So that brings us to our committee reports and action items. Project Prioritization Committee. I'm going to call on Commissioner Susan Soloway to give the PPC report.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report the activities of the Project Prioritization Committee at our June 20th meeting. The committee considered 6 action items at that meeting, 4 of which are on today's agenda. First is approval of the initial financial plan for the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Portway, Fish House Road, Pennsylvania Avenue, County Route 659 project. As you know, projects costing between $100 million and $500 million must prepare a financial plan that outlines project risks, schedule, and funding to qualify for federal funding. This project will address congestion, safety issues, and flooding from the Hackensack River. The estimated cost is $103 million, with $6 million already expended. Construction is planned to begin this fall and completed within 5 years. This is listed as action item number 1 on today's agenda. Action item number 2 is a minor amendment to the current Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, to add federal funds to the Portway, Fish House Road, Pennsylvania Avenue, County Route 659 project in Hudson County as requested by NJDOT. The revision adds $32 million for construction in federal fiscal year 2023, which increases total funding for construction to $98 million. This increase is due to escalating construction costs observed in 3 recent bid prices and an increase in construction duration by more than 1 year. Next, the committee considered minor amendments to the current TIP to add federal funds to the Pavement Preservation NJTPA regional program as requested by NJDOT. The amendments involve adding $98.18 million in federal funds to the program to increase the total available for engineering and construction in fiscal year 2023 from $64.6 million to $162.8 million. This action is needed to cover $84.1 million for 11 pavement preservation projects in the NJTPA region. The funding increase also includes an additional $4.1 million to balance the overall program and $10 million to account for potential cost increases. Funding for the increase is available from 2 projects which have experienced unanticipated schedule changes. Those 2 projects and changes in their scheduling are as follows. For the Route 206 Valley Road to Brown Avenue project in Somerset County, $79 million in federal funds would be reprogrammed for construction in fiscal year 2026 due to project phase delays, and another $8 million will be added for a total of $87 million. For Route 71 Bridge over New Jersey Transit project in Monmouth County, $31 million for design, right-of-way, and construction would be converted into Bridge Formula Program funds in fiscal year 2024, 2025, and 2026, all due to project phase delays. Also, $1 million for the right-of-way and $1 million for construction would be added. Prior to the meeting, Somerset County reached out to the NJTPA board expressing concerns about delays to the long-standing Route 206 project. At the meeting, Somerset County Commissioner Sarah Sui requested the action be tabled. At the suggestion of Chairman Bartlett, it was agreed that the NJDOT would meet with Somerset County before today's board meeting to discuss the Route 206 project schedule and related issues. Given that condition, the committee recommended this action be approved by the full board. That meeting took place on June 29th, and future meetings on the project are to be scheduled. This is listed as action item number 3. Action item number 4 is a minor amendment to the current TIP to add pavement preservation statewide program as requested by NJTOT. The amendment would add $12.6 million in federal funds for statewide projects in fiscal year 2022 and 2023 from 2 sources: the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act and the National Highway Performance Program. Also at the meeting, the committee approved 2 sets of TIP modifications that require no further action. The first is a set of modifications to the current TIP to add federal funds to 2 projects as requested by NJDOT as follows. For the Route 23, Route 80, and Route 46 interchange project in Essex and Passaic counties, $4.7 million in federal funds will be added for design in fiscal year 2023, increasing the total to $8.5 million. The revision is due to design complexities and new environmental and regulations. For the Route 35 northbound bridge over Route 36 northbound and Garden State Parkway Ramp G project in Monmouth County, $2.2 million in federal funds will be added for preliminary engineering in fiscal year 2023, increasing the total to $3.7 million. This change is due to a revised preliminary engineering cost estimate that was received in anticipation of a FY 2023 authorization. The second set of modifications approved by the committee will add federal funds to 3 programs as requested by NJDOT as follows. For the restriping program and line reflectivity management system, $10 million will be added for engineering and construction in fiscal year 2023, increasing the total to $22.7 million. For the bridge maintenance fender replacement, $14.5 million in federal funds will be added for engineering, right-of-way, and construction in fiscal year 2023, increasing the total to $20.5 million. For bridge preventive maintenance, $25.5 million in federal funds will be added for engineering and construction in FY 2023, increasing the total to $22.7 million. Also at the June meeting, the committee heard updates on the development of the 2024 TIP and Study and Development Program, which will be presented at the joint meeting in August and to this board in September. That concludes the Project Prioritization Committee report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. So that gives us 4 action items for this committee on today's agenda. The first one, as mentioned, concerns the initial financial plan for the Portway, Fish House Road, Pennsylvania Avenue, County Road 659 project. May I have a motion to approve the resolution on action item number 1?
Motion, Sussex County.
Hudson, second.
Thank you very much. Any comments from members of the board? Any comments from members of the public on this action item? I think when we get to action item number 3, Commissioner Sui is going to talk about that. Any other questions or comments from the public on action item number 1? Okay, seeing none. Beverly, would you please call the roll?
Bergen,
Yes.
Essex,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Hunterdon,
Yes.
Middlesex,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Newark,
Yes.
Passaic,
Yes.
Somerset,
Yes.
Sussex,
Yes.
Union,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Governor's Office,
Yes.
NJDOT,
Yes.
NJ Transit,
Yes.
Port Authority,
Yes.
Citizens Representative.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Next, number 2 is a minor amendment to the fiscal year 22 through 25 Transportation Improvement Program to add federal funds to the Portway Fish House Road, Pennsylvania Avenue, County Road 659 project in Hudson County, as requested by the NJDOT. May I have a motion to approve action item number 2?
So moved, NJDOT.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Hudson, second.
Thank you very much. Any comments from board members on action item number 2? And any comments or questions from members of the public on item number 2? Seeing none, Beverly, would you call the roll?
Bergen,
Yes.
Essex,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Hunterdon,
Yes.
Middlesex,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Newark,
Yes.
Passaic,
Yes.
Somerset,
Yes.
Sussex,
Yes.
Union,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Governor's Office,
Yes.
NJDOT,
Yes.
NJ Transit, Port Authority,
Yes.
Citizens Representative. Motion is carried.
All right. Next, number 3 is a set of minor amendments to the fiscal year 2022 through 25 TIP to add federal funds to the Pavement Preservation NJTPA Regional Program as requested by the NJDOT. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved, NJDOT.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Morris will second.
Thank you very much. Any comments from board members on action item number 3? Sarah?
Yes, Chairman Bartlett, thank you. So Somerset County asked for this tip modification to be tabled at the June 20th PPC meeting since the county had serious concerns about the construction of the Route 206 Brown Avenue to Valley Road project being delayed until 2026. The county was not made aware of the delays this project was facing until the proposed tip modification was added to the PPC meeting agenda. The county has major concerns because this delay will create traffic bottleneck once the County Route 206 Valley Road to Old Somerville Road project is completed. It should be noted that the Route 206 Valley Road to Old Somerville Road project is also being delayed since NJDOT recently removed the contractor from this project. Improvements to the Route 206 project have been a long-standing priority of the county since this road is the only major north-south corridor in the county. Further delays will only cause more traffic congestion and delays for our residents. The PPC voted to advance this tip modification with the stipulation that NJDOT will meet Somerset County to discuss the county's concerns. We thank NJDOT and the NJTPA for meeting with the county and Hillsborough Township staff members. At this meeting, NJDOT explained why the project had to be delayed and promised that the county project will be ready for construction in 2026. Of course, we prefer if it's sooner than that, but we appreciate the compromise. While the county remains disappointed this project cannot advance in a timelier manner, the county will vote yes on the tip modification in order to ensure the federal funds originally assigned to this project can be spent now to advance other projects in the region and not have to be returned to the federal government. Somerset County expects NJDOT to honor their promises to have this project ready for construction by 2026 and trusts the department will ensure this project stay on schedule. We also urge NJDOT to swiftly resolve the issues with the contractor on the current Route 206 Valley Road to Old Somerville Road project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other members of the board want to comment on action item number 3? Any questions or comments from the public? Did we answer your question? Okay, terrific. In that case, may I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved, NJDOT.
And a second?
Second. Middlesex, I'm sorry.
Great. Thank you. Beverly, call the roll.
Bergen,
Yes.
Essex,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Hunterdon, Middlesex,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Newark,
Yes.
Passaic,
Yes.
Somerset,
Yes.
Sussex,
Yes.
Union,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Governor's Office,
Yes.
NJDOT,
Yes.
NJ Transit,
Yes.
Port Authority,
Yes.
Citizens Representative.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And Sarah, it's been my experience in 11 years on this board that there's always something getting delayed, and you got the short end of the stick this time. Maybe you'll be the beneficiary of it in a year or two, and we're going to make sure that that project keeps on track. So that brings us to number 4, which is a minor amendment to the fiscal year 22 through 25 TIP to add the pavement preservation statewide program as requested by the NJDOT. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved, NJDOT.
And a second?
Second, Sussex County.
Okay. Any comments from members of the board? Any comments or questions from members of the public on this action item? Very good. Beverly, call the roll.
Bergen,
Yes.
Essex,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Hunterdon, Middlesex,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Newark,
Yes.
Passaic,
Yes.
Somerset,
Yes.
Sussex,
Yes.
Union,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Governor's Office,
Yes.
NJDOT,
Yes.
NJ Transit,
Yes.
Port Authority,
Yes.
Citizens Representative.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, that brings us to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, and we'll hear from Commissioner Charles Kenny with the PEDC report. Charles?
Thank you, Chairman Bartlett, and thank you to you and the City of Patterson and the County of Passaic for your hospitality. It is my first time seeing the Great Falls in person, so it's something different. And also thank you to Commissioner Soloway for jumping in at the last minute in our June meeting and chairing the Planning and Economic Development Committee for me, so I thank you very much. I'm pleased to report on the activities of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. At the June 20th meeting, we heard a report on the NJTPA's Autonomous Vehicle Symposium, which was held June 6th at the NJTPA. More than 60 people attended. The first panel focused on the state of the practice, featuring presentations on the proposed Trenton Move system, which could employ up to 100 on-demand automated vehicles, New Jersey Transit Research Pilot Program into autonomous shuttles, and pilots of autonomous microtransit services in Minnesota and Texas launched by the company VIA, which runs Jersey City Microtransit System. The second panel discussed the potential impacts of autonomous vehicles on local communities and counties. Topics included infrastructure, investment, land use, zoning, and the overall transportation system. The discussion emphasized the need to design and build for efficient and safe travel today, rather than solely focusing on future autonomous vehicles, as well as the importance of leveraging technology advancements to address equity, safety, and other focus areas outlined in the NJTPA Long Range Plan. A video of the selected presentation from the event has been posted on the NJTPA website. Also, the meeting information included written staff updates on a variety of current activities, such as demographic and employment forecasting, the North Jersey Regional Transportation Model, and the Regional Capital Investment Strategy Refinement and Strategy Effectiveness Project. As Dave mentioned, NJTPA staff will begin development of the new long-range transportation plan in the coming year, in preparation for the adoption in fall of 2025. The Planning and Economic Development Committee will oversee and direct work on this critical effort. I look forward to all committee members taking an active hand in shaping the plan and advancing policies and projects that will guide the region's long-term future. And this concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to the Freight Initiatives, and I'll call on Commissioner Sarah Sui, Vice Chair of that committee, to give the Freight Initiatives report.
Thank you. I am pleased to report on the June 20th meeting of the Freight Initiatives Committee, which featured updates on 2 significant NJTPA freight planning efforts. The first speaker was Chris Lamb of Cambridge Systematics, who briefed the committee on the update of the NJTPA's Freight Rail Grade Crossing Assessment. The study updates the NJTPA's 2008 assessment by documenting current conditions and operations at 65 crossings along major freight rail lines, prioritizing the crossings based on need, and developing recommendations for addressing issues at the region's 10 top priority crossings. Next, Scott Parker of Jacobs Engineering briefed the committee on the 2 studies completed under the fiscal year 2021 freight concept development program, which helps advance projects non-eligible for funding under the other programs. The first project addresses truck safety on Berkshire Valley Road in Roxbury, Morris County. The study recommends raising and fully replacing the Chester Branch Rail Bridge over Berkshire Valley Road to prevent trucks from striking the low bridge. Also recommended is realigning the intersection of North Dell Avenue and Berkshire Valley Road to remove the skewed angle. The new intersection would align with the old timber court. The other study aims to eliminate the port reading secondary lines at Great Rail Crossing on South Main Street in Bound Brook, Somerset County. The goal of the study was to alleviate congestion on the South Main Street, a key access route, while ensuring continued freight rail access to existing and future freight customers. This study recommends adding the new track parcel to the Lehigh Valley line that would cross the South Main Street, the Greenbrook and River Road on new structures, eliminating the at-grade crossing. Also at the meeting, the committee received an update on NJTPA's various freight planning activities and brief reports from committee members. It was noted that the 2023 Economic Impact Assessment of the port would be issued shortly. That report has since been completed and is available on the NJTPA's website. In addition, NJTPA freight staff were involved in developing content for and running the 2023 Eastern Transportation Coalition's Freight Academy, which was attended by several agency partners. NJDOT reported that the agency has awarded contracts for state programs supporting freight projects. The Port Authority reported that the year started with relatively lower volumes at the port, reflecting economic conditions at the time, but the April imports increased by about 8% compared to 2019. Overall, the port is doing better than similar ports in California and elsewhere in the country. Also, bridge and tunnel traffic has been running 10 to 20% higher than in 2019. Finally, Middlesex County announced that the final report for the Southern Middlesex County Freight Movement Study is wrapping up. This concludes the Freight Initiatives Committee report.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. That brings us to the general public participation section of the meeting. As a reminder, we advise members of the public that we have a 3-minute time limit on comments. The light on the timer will go from green to yellow when there are 30 seconds remaining, and then red when your 3 minutes are reached. We also remind you that whatever you say will be part of our live webcast and part of the public record of this meeting. We ask that you keep your comments within the allotted time. We will start with members of the public who are here in the room and have signed up to speak. Then we'll call on those who signed up to participate remotely via Zoom. Beverly, do we have folks that signed up to speak here in the room?
No one has signed up today, sir.
Okay. Well, before we move on to Zoom, is there anybody who wants to?
We do, Chairman. I have one person signed up to comment, Mr. Andy Weiss.
Okay, terrific. Well, let us move on to Zoom then. And Ted, whatever you have to do.
All right, Andy, can you hear us? Hello? Oh, hold on. We're not speaking. Hello? I'm not hearing you. Hello?
So for those of you in the room, when we went back to live meetings this year, we maintained a remote public comment option, which now seems to be running through Melissa's phone. So we'll get to that in a moment.
We just tested this in the hallway and it worked. I'm just going to call him back again. We had a bad connection.
Okay, hi, Melissa. Thank you.
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, board. NJ Transit has many missing bus operators, and many buses are canceled because they lack bus operators. NJ Transit alerts us on social media that the buses did not operate due to operator availability. This was going on all day long and for many years before the COVID pandemic. Also, an alarming amount of NJ Transit buses are canceled because of maintenance problems. NJ Transit's starting pay for a bus operator is only $23 an hour, which is only about $48,000 a year on a 40-hour week. NJ Transit refuses to attract new bus operators with this low starting pay. The bus operator starting pay needs to be increased to at least $30 an hour. We have many buses that are not operating every day due to lack of operator availability, and we need to end this shortage. Again, please note that the NJ Transit bus operator shortage has been going on long before the COVID pandemic. NJ Transit needs to end this bus operator shortage with better starting pay. We also need new NJ Transit Hudson Bergen light rail trains in Hudson County, because the trains are 23 years old and breaking down all the time. The Hudson Bergen light rail trains are obsolete, poorly designed, and lack standing room. We also need to extend the Hudson Bergen light rail to Bergen County. The northern branch, North Hudson Bergen light rail extension into Bergen County has been delayed for 17 years, and it has been on pause for 5 years by the Department of Transportation. We have been waiting for the Bergen County extension since 2006. Another topic is the terrible 88 bus line on Kennedy Boulevard in Hudson County. The bus has terrible service frequency and is operated by Coach USA. We need to end this contract and stop privatization of our NJ Transit bus lines because they give terrible service frequency and service. Hudson County is a crowded county and our NJ Transit bus service is awful. The NJ Transit Board needs to stop skipping board meetings twice a year. The NJ Transit Board only meets the minimum amount, 10 out of 12 times a year. Why is the NJ Transit Board skipping the upcoming August 2023 board meeting? Why? Because they don't want to hear our public comments. That's why. Last topic is the lack of local help from our municipalities regarding NJ Transit problems. NJ Transit riders have no help with our issues from local municipalities. We have cars parking in our bus stops and dirty bus shelters, and we are ignored by local municipalities and the police. We are told to call the terrible NJ Transit customer service because our towns will not help us with problems. We need municipalities to have a department that is trained to help NJ Transit riders. NJ Transit is in a serious death spiral, and we need the NJTPA to help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. In the end, you came through loud and clear, and we appreciate your comment. Ted, is there anyone else on Zoom or remotely? Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the public comment period. Then I'm about to move on to item J, but I want to know if anyone on the board, maybe someone from Transit or DOT, wants to add anything to that conversation before we move on.
Not particularly. I'd just say certainly some of those issues relate to overall funding, which is always a challenge. We can certainly get some data. We have been doing a lot on the operator side, and I have not really actually heard much about the bus maintenance issue. So we can certainly get some data on that. I mean, there's a whole list of issues there. The HBLR cars are still within their FTA-sponsored useful life. The Northern Branch extension is certainly something that, again, but for substantial funding, is something we have been pursuing. So there's lots of things we could talk about, but in the interest of time, I'll probably leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, here we call that the Hudson Bergen Passaic light rail line because we've got big dreams. So thank you for your comments on that. So the next meeting of the NJTPA board will be held back at the NJTPA offices in Newark on September 12th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. It is now 5 minutes before noon. Members of the board and guests, please feel free to grab a quick coffee or food in our dining room with a view of the falls out there. And at 12:05, we will head out for our falls tour and our Hinchcliffe tour. So stick around for about 10 minutes and join us. And may I have a motion to adjourn? And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much.